If content strategy is a new topic for you and you've been learning about it, you might start to think, okay, I get it. A lot of these problems and challenges make sense, and I understand why we would want to thoughtfully manage our content and have plans around it. But what does it look like? What does a content strategy look like? That's what we're going to explore in this video. There are 4 common forms of content strategy, especially when we talk about content strategy, the thing, the plan. There are content strategy frameworks. These are visual tools for understanding the key concepts of content strategy. In my practice, I might work with a team to identify an external framework, so one created by someone else, a different company or agency or book author, and find one that clicks for that team, for the client that I'm working with. And then I can use components from that framework to shape the engagement and the overall project plan. These frameworks also serve as facilitation tools that can provide structure for a conversation or workshop. And as promised, we're going to look at some of this stuff. This is a pretty popular framework, the Content Strategy Quad. Brain Traffic is an agency led by Christina Halverson that developed this original content strategy quad. It also shows up in her book, Content Strategy for the Web. What you're seeing is a description of 4 key components that organizations typically need to address to support their core strategy, which is that thing in the middle. So yes, there are 5 things in the quad. Don't ask me to explain. If a brand has a bunch of junky content on their site that doesn't meet user needs, we might say that they have issues with substance up there in the top left. If they have good content, but maybe it's impossible to find, or users are just getting lost for some reason, or the search isn't working, we might find that there are structural issues. Having a framework like this on the screen or as a meeting handout lets you walk around, so to speak, major topics in content strategy work. This is the more recent edition of the quad. I'm partial to the first one, but this is just as valid, and I've used it to good effect before with clients. Neither version is right or wrong. They're just lenses for talking about and understanding content strategy. You could create your own framework. I did. This is one I developed called VMT, and it reflects my experience from working more with product and brand-focused companies who are trying to align what they're actually doing with how they're talking about it. I use this framework as a teaching tool, and I might use it as a discovery tool with clients. I also use it to organize my own content strategy playbook, my toolkit, and the ones that I create for clients. For instance, I might put an agenda for a message architecture workshop in the message drawer or folder, a tone map in the tone drawer, that sort of thing. Instead of a component-based perspective, you could organize a framework based on an assessment, such as maturity. This model describes some common steps in the life cycle of a digital publishing initiative, from unorganized, ad hoc content chaos to fully optimized, socialized, formalized content operations. I've used similar frameworks to this one with clients to lead conversations about where they feel they are now and where they might like to get to in our work together. Here, Rachel McConnell has visualized content strategy as a process with components that describe common, major phases of work to prop up a content strategy for a website or organization. You might choose to create your own frameworks, borrow one of these, or make a remix to suit your team and context. Another form of content strategy is project plans and initiatives. Content strategy sometimes just looks like one big honking project. Right? You might represent it with a roadmap or a burn down chart, milestones on a calendar, tasks and assignments and a project management tool. Anything that you're doing to improve your content and content operations could be considered a content strategy project. But there are some initiatives that show up again and again in organizations of all kinds. Common ones are website migrations, moving the content from one platform to another, setting content strategy, consolidating one or more sites into a single site, rolling out new brands or style guides, optimizing the existing content, or assessing the quality of a big content footprint. You could use one of the frameworks we talked about a moment ago to help develop some of these projects and plans, like a roadmap, where you sequence out major areas of activity that you'll need to engage in to take the website or channel from where it is to where you want it to be, or maybe move up a rung or two on that content maturity assessment. These example project planning tools are from Megan Casey's excellent book, The Content Strategy Toolkit. Sometimes content strategy is just putting the project plan together to do something content related, such as redesigning the website or publishing a new section of content. As you are starting to see, content strategy work is not necessarily slick or cool looking. It's boring, it's detailed, it's not all that visual sometimes, and that's just fine. A common form of content strategy, the shape that it might take, is activity, a sequence of activities individually or as a group, applying content strategy tools, doing research, facilitating workshops, all of that kind of stuff. You might be using design tools, you might be leading or facilitating conversations, you might be synthesizing insights from user research, organizing notes, applying tools like content modeling. I was using that for this course actually, trying to figure out, how to structure the modules and what to include in each one of them. It could look like trainings and events. It could look like outputs from workshops, or honestly, content strategy can look like one person at a computer with a spreadsheet for many, many hours. Finally, content strategy might take the form of documents or deliverables, depending on your relationship to the work. There's going to be spreadsheets, there's going to be diagrams, inventories, maps, models, all kinds of stuff that describes the plans that you have, what you're going to do and when. It might be just simple descriptions of your approach for a given project. It might be your style guide. It might be guidance on voice or tone. It could be something like the content model that you're seeing right now, where you take an idea like, say, a recipe and atomize it, break it apart into all of the little components that content is made of. Some of these deliverables are just statements. They're documentation of what we believe. This is an example of a core strategy statement, which is a common technique for trying to take a big, complex strategy and just make it something that you can fit on a single presentation slide. Oh yeah, you're going to be making a lot of presentations. One caution that I wanted to leave you with, you're going to want to look for templates. Tread carefully. Don't spend forever searching for templates. You need to just kind of grab that Play-Doh and squeeze. You have to start playing with it before you can figure out exactly what you are trying to make. Children do not ask the teacher to show them things that other kids have made out of Play-Doh. They just start playing with it. Your content strategy and the work that you need to do for a given project is going to take the shape that it needs to. The successful content strategists that I know don't start with a Google search for some kind of template. They start by making a new document and writing stuff down.